Hello and welcome back to another episode of Code with Lily Code, and we are continuing with the 100 Days of Code challenge. So today what I'm going to do, I'm going to switch it up again. The Maximilian course is absolutely amazing, the one I've been doing so far, the complete React tutorial, but it's so long that I do want to finish it. I'm definitely going to finish it, but it's so long I need to look into other courses that are slightly quicker to complete, because I just don't know how you could recommend this course to somebody unless they have 6 months. No, that's not even true. I mean, it took me 100 days, an hour a day. Do you know, if you just got in and did it, there'd be days where you just coded along, you had good days, you coded for 6 hours, but it just is taking a long time, and it's really good. I'm learning so much. He's going into everything in so much depth, but I have access to O'Reilly, and there are other courses on the O'Reilly platform that, you know, they're 4 or 5 hour courses as opposed to 40-hour courses. So I just want to sort of take a step back, go and do one of these smaller courses that should only take me 4 hours, which realistically will probably be 6-8 hours of 100 days videos by the time I say my introduction, stop waffling, and get everything spun up and set up and all. If you were just continuing on, you'd get it done quicker, but you know, I'm doing my hour, I'm stopping, I'm going off and doing other things. A lot of it's still code related, but that's beyond the point. I'm only doing the course for an hour a day, so I want to see, for a comparison for people, how long would it take to complete a 4 hour course? What type of content are you going to learn from a 4 hour course as opposed to a 40-hour course? Like, I just feel like I'm really learning React. I feel like it's been the perfect progression in Max's course. You know, nothing was too slow. Nothing was too quick. You know, for having the 40 hours there, I feel like every hour spent has been valuable. I feel like I've continually gained my understanding, and that he's gone over and over concepts in not a repetitive way, but just brought them into different parts of the project, and therefore I feel very comfortable with them now, which I really wouldn't have in the beginning. I didn't know React before I started Max's complete React tutorial. So I have that as a benchmark now, and I would like to finish it. I'm going to finish it, but if I continue with that now, the 100 days will probably be ended, and I will have just done that course. So really what I'd like to do to get more value out of this for myself, and it's also going to just, this is pertinent to work. So whenever I'm doing these switches, it's because it's something that I'd like to do for work, really. So I want to switch. I'd prefer to have a look at a shorter course. It's going to be valuable for work, so that's why I'm doing it. So it's not just me deciding to switch as well. If it had just been me by myself, I would have probably just continued the Max React course of lack of any other inspiration of what to do. But seeing as I am getting inspired through my daily work, you know, there's other little tangents that I want to spend this 100 days on. So with that said, I'm going to start the Learn React for Modern Web Applications by Shaun, Wassell on React. I will include a link to this in the description box down below. You can get a 10-day free trial to O'Reilly, which probably will be enough to do this course, actually, especially over a weekend. If you'd get this done in a day, I'd imagine. You know, I mean, a full day, because although it's a 4 hour and 24-minute completion time, that's always extra time for bugs and for, you know, if you get confused and you need to compare your code, and you need to look into a topic and do a bit of research. So 4 hours is how long it takes the videos to play. It's not how long it takes you to complete the videos. So let's see, given that, how long this is going to complete, what my feeling is after doing it. Is it as valuable as doing Max's 100 days? So because I am starting a course, I do just have to watch this. You know, I can't keep pausing it for all of the boring bits, because it's taken so long. You know, I need to make sure I'm getting my hour done every day, and I'm pausing it at all boring bits and things like that, and then it's just not taking an hour. So I'm going to watch this video. Watch me while I watch the video, and yeah, that's it really. So, and as well, normally I would find something on YouTube or something like that so you could see what I'm watching, But again, in work we have access to O'Reilly, so I'm gonna stick with O'Reilly, you know, as the 100 days or whatever you'd like to study yourself. So I'm sorry it isn't more integral, but you know, I'm going to feed back everything I'm learning, and thank you so much for joining me. So let's get into it, okay? You can just watch me while I watch. That's what I'm doing today. So I'm skipping some of the boring stuff here. Well, I wouldn't say boring. Oh, I forgot my microphone. I ain't starting again. I keep doing this, you know. Not forgetting my microphone, but being like, oh, I'll start that again, and not making any progress. Just have to get steam ahead, full steam ahead. This is the 100 days of code, you know. So for the tutorials, I try and make them interesting and informational, and definitely cut out like unimportant parts. Those videos have to be edited, but that's not the aim of these ones. These are daily, 100 days doing your coding. That's the focus. So I should stick to the true focus of the 100 days of code challenge and not get distracted by not trying to make it look pretty. It hardly looks pretty, like it's still just me doing what I'm doing, but that's the yeah, so there's a load of React jobs at the moment, guys. So as always, look, I'm going to just feed back what's going on here. So I still think it's valuable. You're getting an idea of what's in this course. Put me on 2 times speed and see what I say. So yeah, React is an open source front-end JavaScript library. It was made by Facebook actually to be used by Facebook, and I heard someone recently say that this made me laugh. I'm enjoying React, I'm loving learning it, but someone recently said to me that they think that Facebook should have kept React to themselves. It's supposed to solve problems, and it actually, the first round, it was really, you know, good and very helpful, and it was solving some solutions, but then they realised they'd done a few things, maybe not wrong, but that could have done with improvement, and then it's just since become more and more complex, and that if you just did this stuff with vanilla JavaScript, what we've been using for the longest time, you would be much quicker in developing the application that you're developing. And I actually thought that was a great point. But the bottom line is that we're in the modern era. This is what big companies are using. So regardless of what your opinions are on it, the uptake has been massive, and so many companies are using it. There are so many React and Angular jobs out there. Like, I feel so blessed that I've learned the 2 of them, you know, because they're very valuable skills. So I think if you've any sort of interest in front-end development, I just wanted to make things look pretty. I always thought I was a bit creative. I wanted to be able to, you know, think outside the box. It's very hard when you're first deciding. You have no idea about any of the stuff, so you just sort of pick something and you run with it. That's what I did anyway. So don't overthink the languages. Just get in and learn something. They all leverage from each other. Python is a great language as well to use at first. It's very easy to adopt, but then you're missing out on some of the core key concepts of programming because it is so simple. And maybe these are the wrong terms, you know. Python developers are probably shouting down their screens being like, Python isn't simple. Well, I'm not sure, like, you know, this is just all my opinion and what I've picked up along the way. So Python, it seems to, like, you don't need to be concerned about all of the things you do in other programming languages, like semicolons and stuff. You do all your coding by indentation, and so it teaches you enough of the concepts, and you're still writing code. You're writing code, but it's simpler than, you know, other coding languages. So then maybe it's a bit too simple because, you know, you're missing out on some of the concepts. And then when you come to a more difficult language, or a language just that has more bells and whistles, you might be like, where did all this come from? So just keep that in mind. But Python is a great starting language. You'll really get a few basics in there. I started with Java back in college, and that was actually great because in the very back of my mind, I had all of the structure there in the very back of my mind. Like, I left it for so long and went off and did science that, it wasn't fresh information. I had to go off and learn it all again. But still, when the concepts came up of declaring a variable and of using an array and of doing different things and how to traverse an array and stuff, that was still locked in the bean. So I found that useful. So actually, if you have, so maybe just going for the more complex language, because then you get all the bits, and then you can go down and you understand what you're dropping, as opposed to starting with minimal and trying to grasp what is it that you're adding. But I think then you can look at it either way as valuable, because if you start with the basics, you can just build on your knowledge and add little bits. So if you start with Python, okay, you've got a great foundation there. You've learned a lot of the basics. Then you move on to JavaScript and you're adding on bits of information that are integral to coding. And then, like, if you go to Java, you're probably adding on a little bit more then. Whereas if you start with Java, you have all that information, and cutting it out is easy as well. So it's a two-way street. There is no right or wrong answer. Whatever you're drawn to, or whatever you might have a little bit of first information of, go with that. There's no right or wrong answer. They all tie in together. They're all related in one way or another. So whatever one you learn, you're going to be leveraging skills for the others. So in the beginning, just get in and start learning anything. Don't overthink it. I remember 6 months, a year I was looking into, but what language? But I don't want to go down the wrong path, Oh, but should I be a web designer? Should I be a front-end developer? Should I be a back-end developer? Should I be a data scientist? All over the place with my decisions. And the truth is, had I have just got in and started to code, I would have been a year ahead in my coding. So don't worry about it. They're all related. Just get in and learn something. I'd say probably in the beginning, I was going to say don't jump around and, learn loads of different things. Try and stick with the one thing, because even if you hit bumps and stuff like CSS, HTML, JavaScript, if you want to be a front-end developer. So start with CSS, start with HTML. Well, start with HTML first of all, then go to CSS and JavaScript. And you have a really good base if you get them in. Then you can start learning your frameworks like JavaScript, Angular. Like React is a framework, JavaScript is the language, like React and Angular. So JavaScript and TypeScript are similar. TypeScript is just JavaScript but with added types, so you're going into more of a Java way of programming where it's a bit more explicit. You've given it a bit more information, you're adding on to that requirements of the language. When you go from JavaScript to TypeScript, you're just adding types. If you started with Java, you would have already known about types. If you started with Python, you'd still know about types, but it's a bit it's more wishy-washy as we're progressing from Python, JavaScript, TypeScript, Java. And these are all different languages. They're not tightly related or anything, but they all have similarities. They all have a common thread. If you learn any of them, you are leveraging information for the others. So don't stress about which one should I learn. Just get in and start learning whichever one appeals to you in the beginning, and start getting the hours under your belt, because it's going to take time at the end of the day. It's just going to take time and continued dedication and practice. So just get in there. Anyway, I best start listening to this video again. But someone told me that funny story about React, that they thought it was useless. This is a guy with 25 years experience, so very, very, very competent programmer, and really understands the ins and outs of the language. So absolutely fabulous and really great. And it was said in a very warm-hearted, jovial way. But I actually really valued that statement. I thought, wow, that made me think, because I could see the value of it. Like back when we did just have the more simple programming language and not all these frameworks on top and all these tools, you would have got it done a lot quicker, you know, and it would have worked. So, I mean, it made me think, have we gone a bit mad with these things? But then again, it makes the introduction into programming easier. You don't need to fully understand what's going on in a sense. You know, you can just spin up a framework real quick and you can have your components there and you can sort of get to work. And I know if you're brand new, it doesn't feel real quick. You know, you're still like, oh my God, it might take you a week to spin up a project and add a new component. And that's fine. It just takes time. So don't be hard on yourself and just get the hours in. That's my total advice. So yeah, React is has been around for a while now, and it's stable and has an active ecosystem. So there's lots of people using it, lots of businesses. There's so many jobs in React, JavaScript, Angular, you know. There's a lot of opportunity out there for people, and there's a deficit. So there's a deficit of people to fill jobs, a bit like the housing market in Ireland. There's a deficit of houses for people to live in. That's why house prices are insane. But you know, so there's more jobs than there is people. So if you learn this skill, and it's going to be like that, that's going to be an exponential trend, is the forecast. Obviously nobody can predict the future, certainly not me anyway. So, well, who knows? Mystic Meg is in the building. I got my ball. What's going on in the future? No. So, like, I can't predict the future. I wish I could. I shouldn't just keep saying that so definitely, because who knows, maybe one day. My point is, you know, I don't know what's going to happen. Like, I don't. So, with that being said, it's been predicted, and these are people who know what they're predicting, you know, people that have predicted things by statistical analysis, like not just being like, oh, I think it might rain tomorrow, checking the weather forecast and knowing what's coming down the line. It's not 100%. It might rain when it says it's sunny, but you've got a pretty good forecast there as well most days. So that type of thing. And it's been said, it's a known fact, that there is a job gap in the IT industry and that it's only going to get bigger. So start learning these skills, guys. No day is too late. Every day is, now is the time. Now is the time. If this is something you want to do, get in there and start learning. There's going to be jobs, there's going to be opportunities, and I think it's a fabulous skill to learn. So there you go. Okay. Okay, great. So he's just got through the starting video where he just said like what he was going to do, which is just build a React application and go through all the general things, and then that React is used in many companies and that it's a well-known application. So cool. Angular, Ember and Vue are all front-end frameworks like React. Okay. Cool. So this is great. So he's going right from the beginning. Good man, Shaun Wassell, because, you know, now I know these things, but when I started, I did not. And the way people just presume everybody knows how to check their node version, or, you know, you're starting a course that's beginner's introduction, like tell me everything I need to know in React. I could be coming at this with not a day's experience in me, which, you know, you should maybe go to Free Code Camp, get the basics in HTML, CSS and JavaScript down. But like, you literally could come and do one of these courses, no problem, with no experience. I just think you'll understand it better if you do the preliminary steps. There's no rush. You just need to get this information continually. So just keep at it, you know. And don't worry about it too much. There is no right or wrong way. I remember I was like, oh my God, I learned this before I learned this. Oh, my learning is out the window. You know, I really should have learned this first. I really should have learned that after. It makes no difference, guys. Just learn. Okay, it really doesn't. Like, now I realise that everything has added to me coming to this point, and there's no right or wrong going on here. So first of all, what we're going to do is just start a new project. I want to just check my node and my npm version. So new window. And Shaun Wassell is talking us through this. I like his demeanour. He seems fun. That's always good. Yeah, very good. There was another guy I was going to pick, and his course seemed really good, but maybe he wasn't that fun for me, you know. So I was like, I'd like to have some fun with somebody if I'm going to spend 5 hours with them. So I picked the fun guy. Okay. So to check our node version, we just do node-v. So my version is 14.17.5, and then I best check npm-v as well. But then also I should check, like, what's the current version. So I think npm could be out of sync. Who knows? Let's just check here now. So bada bing bada boom, baby. You make a razor. So let's check what version node is on. Node current version. I can just go to the node like homepage and it will tell me. So here, excuse me. So we're on, stop it, so 14, 15, 16, 17. We've gone up quite a bit, and this is going to update me to npm as well, maybe. So let's just update node. So we'll go to the docs and check what we do here. So all we have to do is, like, it's just going to be node install global or something. So upgrade node version. Let's just like upgrade it, you know. So upgrading node to the latest version. It's going to be a very simple command. I'm just not sure what it is. For Windows, just reinstall using the thing. On Linux, Macs, Windows. Okay, so you have to install it from the Node website. Right, well, I won't worry about that now. No, I won't. I have a video on my channel getting your development environment set up, and I go through installing Node from scratch. So I have a video doing that, and you know, I'm not too concerned about it right now. So I can upgrade all of these things myself, and we can go ahead and make a React project anyway. Sorry guys, I hope that wasn't loud. So next, what we're going to do is create our React application. So let's go. I'm huge here today. Why not? Do you know, we haven't got any code going on. Sorry to be vain. It's just hard when you look at yourself to not, like, you know, fix yourself. Oh God, let's just continue. I look great. So what we're going to do is we're in here in our Lilly code folder. So I'll just do a dir, and that's going to bring me the list of what's in this current folder in the Lilly code folder. So if I go up here, okay, so I'm just in my root. So I'll cd into documents. Perfect. I'll cd into YouTube. Perfect. And I'm going to mkdir, make a directory called Shaun Wassell, because we're doing Shaun Wassell's course. So, and what's the name of the course? Let's just get the name of the actual course, because I'll call Learn React for Modern Web Applications. So maybe React Modern Web Applications. Maybe I should just call it the whole thing. Okay guys, so I've CD'd into my YouTube folder here, which is great, and now I'm going to, and made my MKDIR Shaun Wassell, so I'm going to CD, move into this Shaun Wassell folder. He's probably like, that's not how you spell my name, but that'll do. And then I'm going to MKDIR, another folder called the whole thing, so I just don't, like, so I know the name of this during all the videos or whatever. Modern Web Applications, because I was like, oh yeah, I'm just doing the complete React tutorial, I should really know the exact name. So then we'll CD into Learn React for Modern Web Applications by Shaun Wassell. Perfect, that makes loads of sense now. And then what I'm going to do is create my new React project. So to do this, I do npx create React app. So this is just the inbuilt way that you can spin up a React project very easily. You can also make them from scratch, but this will give you boilerplate code and just the simplest version of a React. Well, not the simplest. If you were to make it yourself, you could make it simpler, but this gives you all the moving parts that you need in a small project so that you can start building React in one simple line. So npx create, and you'll find this on the React documentation. This is one of the first things you do once you have your environment set up. So the node and the npm. So and your Visual Studio Code as well. npx create React app, or whatever code editor you want to use. It could be Brackets, it could be, you know, WebStorm, although that's paid, so anybody starting probably isn't going to pay 100 quid for WebStorm, but it's a great tool. So npx create Visual Studio Code is amazing, by the way. It's free, you know, I recommend it to all new beginners. I use it in work, so that's how good it is. Businesses use it as well. So npx create React app, then the name of our application. So I'll just say React Modern Web Apps for Modern Web Apps. Modern Web Apps. And yeah, that's fine. Changing, okay, yeah, that's fine. I was thinking I'm changing my naming convention here as I go. I'm just doing it on the fly. So normally people have a set naming convention, you know, that they stick to, so their folders are all in a nice structure, but clearly not me. So it cannot have any capital letters. It must be in this sort of format. So let's go again, and then this should be fine. Perfect. So that's creating the React app. Lovely. And I'm just going to continue to watch here and see what else we do with Shaun. We should be flying through this after we've got through the first 30 minutes of me waffling. So I'll actually figure out how to put a timestamp in these videos. Haven't figured that out yet. So I'll figure out how to put a timestamp and stick a timestamp at 25 minutes when we actually start coding. But for anyone new, I just think, although I may be, you know, going around the place, I think all the stuff I say is stuff I wish I heard when I started. So that's why I say it, you know, because I always used to think, why couldn't someone have told me that? Like, it just seems so obvious now. Like, tell everybody, it doesn't matter what language you start with, tell everybody, just get started. These are the important things you need to know in the beginning, like, you know, all of these things, because they're the bits you're stuck with. Not, well, maybe also how to create an array, but do you get me? Both of them are equally important. You need the advice, you need the coding, because you're just unsure in the beginning. So you will gain clarity, you will gain sureness, you will get more and more and more comfortable with it. I still have so much to learn. Like, I'm not by any means a whiz kid or anything. There's so much to learn, but I at least have the knowledge that I can communicate these key pieces of information to you, and I've learned enough to explain it back to people. Certain aspects, there's still other things I don't know yet that I wouldn't be able to explain, but that's the journey we're all on. So I'm going to explain where I'm at to you guys so you can come to where I am, and as I continue to grow, I'm going to keep explaining so you can grow with me. That's the whole idea. So I didn't know that. So Shaun just said that React normally uses Yarn as its package manager. How did I not know that? Like, I didn't know that that was just standard. And that if you want to use NPM, you pass the flag, use NPM. So I'd sort of prefer to use NPM as well, because if he's going to be using NPM, I use Yarn and NPM. If he's going to be using NPM, I'm going to get confused during some of this. And running NPM command. Maybe I won't. Look, I use Yarn in work. It's the first time I've ever started using Yarn is since I started this job. I've always used NPM before that. I've made a good transition. I haven't accidentally run NPM in work. So let's just, but if he's going to be saying, go and run NPM, I think I'll still just know to use Yarn. It's going to be fine. It's not the end of the world anyway, you know. There's no need to be so, oh my god. So I'll just get on with it, yeah. Have my morning drink. Garlic, ginger, lemon. Cooked for an hour. Drank. Small quantities in a large glass of water. It's actually delicious. I like it. I know it sounds really weird. Obviously, I'm drinking it for the health benefits, but I really like the taste. Nobody will be kissing me ever. Just going around like a constant garlic, but that's okay with me. It's delicious. Okay, great. So we're ready to go. We are in our folder here. Let's do we can spin up our application now as well. So dir, so we'll cd into our React folder. Do you know what? I'll actually open it up because we get to have a look inside it now. So documents, YouTube, Shaun Wassell, learn React. So now we can open our folder, yeah? So cool. Look, this is our starting React project. Very exciting, guys, you know? So cool. So first of all, we're just going to look at the files for a minute. Yeah, so we have our package.json file, which is just the different packages that we want to use with our project. I've gone into this in more detail before. I should really probably just do a video on package.json and what is it. Because until you know, you just don't know. And people will be throwing around these terms when I started, and I'd be like feeling like an idiot because I didn't know what a package.json was. I didn't know what a package was. I had just learned what the basics were, and people just think that you know this stuff. So if you don't know anything I'm talking about, please leave a comment down below. Let me know. You can send me an email, whatever your preferred method of getting in touch is, and saying, I don't know what that is. Like, can you explain it, please? And I will get back on and I'll explain it. That's the whole purpose. I don't want anyone struggling, thinking, I didn't know what that was, and then that being the thread that they're thinking throughout the whole rest of the video and they're not learning anything. Get it down in the comments. I don't know what this is. Just, I don't know what that is. Bam. Then go back and continue to watch. If something else comes up, I don't know what that is. And I'll know, okay, I better go and inform these beautiful people watching me what these things are. That's my whole purpose, okay? Yeah. Yeah, so our package.json just tells us what packages we have installed. Then we have our node modules, which is the npm packages that have been spun up. So we have the code of the packages that we have listed in our package.json. Our git ignore is just what we don't want to be pushed up to Git. So in here we have our node modules because this is a really big folder. it's all the packages that we want to include from NPM that have been spun up. And I can go through this in more detail. I've gone through it a few times, so I don't want to just like continue to waffle on about it, you know. So our git ignore is what we don't want to push to Git. So you wouldn't want, you know, your error logs being pushed up your environment files, because they'll have information about your environment in there. So, you know, that's a safety thing. Then you don't want your node modules, because this folder can be deleted and recreated from the package.json at any time. So you don't need to save it, and it's big. It's just going to, you know, put unnecessary space up onto GitHub or yeah. So now what we're looking at. Yeah. And the package.lock.json just has information about the exact package version that your package.json is installing. So for each of these packages that are listed in the package.json, what versions are those packages? And if you don't have one of these, that's okay as well, because it'll just pick the versions that it knows to pick anyway. You don't need to have this file for it to work. Yeah, and then the public is just what can be accessed from the public domain. So you'll have logos and images and different things in here. And this robots.txt is for the robot crawler in the browser. So this is just like what's going to be publicly accessible on your page, which when your website's spun up will be the whole lot of it. But this is your logos, your images, things like that. And the manifest.json is used when an Android user saves the saves this as a application on their phone, on their home screen or something. This can make the application into an app from this manifest.json. And the index.html excuse me, is the main point of interest for the moment. And we'll come into this now. So this is where your app is bootstrapped up from. Well, I think it's the app.js. Let's see what Shaun has to say. This made sense to me, but then I just want to make sure I'm using the exact right terminology for you guys. So I'll listen to Shaun and I'll tell you what he's going to say. Yeah. So this is the page that our React app gets rendered into, because your index.html, if anyone's been starting learning HTML, this is the file that, you know, you can have all your other pages in there .html, but the index is the one that the browser will load up. So it's the same with the React app. Your React code gets rendered into this file, and then this is what's shown on the browser. So it's your starting point, basically. Like, everything will be shown from here. Yeah. And where it gets rendered into, which, yes, of course, it gets rendered into this root div. So this will contain your React application. It'll be rendered into this root. And there's some other information in here that you can read as well once you spin it up. So, yeah. Only files inside the public folder can be referenced from the HTML. This HTML file is a template. If you open it directly. Oh, so your public file is just your logos and images that are directly referenced in your HTML file. Yes, you have your assets folder for all the rest of your images and stuff. Sorry, I should have made that distinction earlier on. And yeah, the HTML file is just a template. So if you add more things in here, you will see them, but the root is where your React is getting injected into. Cool. Yeah, and then we have our source folder, which is where the actual React code is. So this is our React project in here. Cool. Okay, guys, yeah, so just gonna keep watching here. Went and made a quick cup of coffee. And there was some apple pies downstairs, so I think I deserve a treat, even though it's like early in the morning. What better way to start your day? Come on, if you just found an apple pie, you have to eat it, don't you? So, quite happy now. Was happy before, but I'm happy again. So yeah, so in here in our source folder, this is where our React application lives. And I'm actually going to just let him keep talking because, you know, let's just let him talk. I'll eat this apple pie and then we'll see where we stand, because I don't know, but I sort of do need to explain this stuff. Anyway, I'm just making no progress, you know, but I'm explaining it, so I am. So sweet. Yeah, so this is our rendered app, and this is what we want to replace this with. So React DOM render takes in two things. We have what it is we want to render, and that's the app. And then where we want to replace this. So we just seen we have document.getElement by ID. That's JavaScript, and the element we're getting is the root. So we're replacing the root with this. So then if we go into our app.js, because we could see there, we just have React strict mode wrapping the app tag, which is this component here. I'm going to spin this up because we're going to spin it up soon. I thought from what Shaun said, I had to use yarn, but the npm command worked, so just gonna keep on going with that. Maybe you just don't, that's not what he meant, but cool. So all he's gonna do, so okay, so all we're going to do now is just change this message. So it says edit source.japp and save to reload. So if we go back here and just do because I'm eating my pie, and we're still going to see the same thing. There you go. You can see it changed. Yeah, so what React allows us to do with JSX, this is JSX here where we return something. We can use these components when we return the JSX, which is what's held within the return tag. We can use it as a tag and insert that in anywhere. So here we have app, which is literally this whole component, and we're importing it, and then we just declare it like a tag like this. It's great. This has actually gone at a very good pace, like, to be honest. He's gone through things for a 4-hour course or whatever it is. He's starting off at a good pace. I'm impressed. It's a bit slow for me because I know this stuff, but you know, depending on what your level is, you need to start off right from the beginning. People can skip ahead if it's not for them. It's pretty cool. So I'm going to show you this now in a second. Am I at 1 times speed? Because that's probably why I feel slow. No. But he needs to go quicker. That's for sure. Okay. So it's just showing us how to make some elements here. So we're going to make an element in our app. So what we will do is we will let good morning. If I tab in here, let good morning. So we're just declaring a variable here, an element called good morning. And this is going to be equal to new date, which this is inbuilt into JavaScript. This is just JavaScript functionality that you can use. React as a JavaScript framework. So this isn't coming from React, it's coming from JavaScript. But very, very valuable. So you just say new date, and then we're going to say dot get hours to get the hours of the current date. And then what we will check is if it's less than 12, this will evaluate and it will tell us good morning, true or false now, because we have this thing that we're evaluating, and what it is that we're evaluating is getting the new date, getting the hours from the date, and if they're less than 12. So if they're less than 12, it'll be true, good morning is true. If they're greater than 12, it'll be false, good morning will not be true. So then we're going to create another thing here, another variable, a ternary operator. So another element, okay. Another element, okay. I just want to make sure I'm using the correct terminology here. So greeting element, because I would have called this a variable element. Greeting element is equal to, and that is morning. Cool. So now it's going to be true or false, dependent on whether or not it's true or whether it's false. So what we'll do then is we can create a ternary operator, which is just checking if a value is true or false. Do this if it's true, do this if it's false. Very, very, very useful. So if it's true, we will add a H3 tag that says, good morning, good morning, good morning. Which is what I'm saying to all you beautiful folks today. And then also, in the case that it's not the morning, another thing I'm saying to all you beautiful folks is good evening. Whichever time of the day it is, thank you for joining me here, and good morning, good evening. You know, have a great day for yourselves. So, this is a ternary operator. This greeting element is assigned to a ternary operator that will evaluate dependent on the value of good morning, which is either going to be, that should be, is morning, yes. So see, I wasn't linking it up properly here, which is why this is grey and this is grey. So if I copy this, this should be is morning. So is it the morning? And now these two are linked together. See the way they changed colour? And now I can use this greeting element down below. So if it is morning, this will be the first thing that evaluates after the question mark, the true case, and we'll see good morning being stored in greeting element. In the case that it's false, we will instead see good evening. So that's great. And now we can use this down in our JSX return statement. So why not do it instead of this silly paragraph that we created? And the way to do that is in curly braces, yeah, we'll add greeting element. Thought I wasn't recording for a minute there and I was like, no. But I am. Sometimes that happens, you know. So let's go and have a look at this. What happened in our code. So if we reload, it's the morning time. Good morning, guys. Oh, great. Very great. So great. I'm actually really liking the pace of this course for somebody who is brand new. Like, yeah, it hasn't been that long. If I wasn't talking, this has been a 5-minute video and I made it into well, I'm 3 videos in now, so 15 minutes made into 45 minutes. For 30 minutes I was just talking generally about coding based on his first video where he was talking generally about coding, and I gave a few of my own opinions on other people's as well. So I guess we're making good progress. Yeah. Okay, so maybe I should keep that in mind, that because I waffle so much, or at least because I'm explaining it, I'm relaying the information, that, you know, it would actually be finished sooner. So that's a good point to note, because I was thinking with the Max one, you know, I could never recommend this. It takes too long to complete, which it doesn't. If you want to do it in your own personal time, brilliant. Nothing is too long. Just tip away. You're going to learn so much. So for anybody that wants to learn React and is doing a 100 days of code challenge, or is just like, look, I'd really like a comprehensive React tutorial, which one can you recommend? I know which one I'd be recommending, Max's one. But, you know, it's nice to have some options. What's a shorter course like? What's the level of information that you're missing out on if you have 35 hours less time dedicated to it? Or, you know, not that both are valuable. So what's the value in this one? That's what I wanted to find out. Yeah, and we can also just insert in words. This is actually a really good place to start. Do you know that, where he's after starting? This is important. He started at a good place. So we can say let adjective. So we're just declaring another variable here, and we will assign this to a string, and the string is going to be cool. And then down below in our JSX code, where it says learn React, we can add a paragraph here. So this is a paragraph tag. You can add your standard tags. You can add your standard tags in there. So we can say this is so. I like lots of O's. And then again, we can use our curly bracket notation to inject that variable down below and get it evaluated into the actual word. So this is muy importante React stuff, you know, and yeah, nice place to start off the course actually, I think. So there we go. We have our good morning, which we have evaluated outside of the JSX and with a ternary operator, and then we are just putting in that variable and whatever is evaluated is coming out in the page. And then we also are just inserting a variable straight away with the curly brackets, and again it's evaluating, you know, but there's less evaluation going on. It's just a string, whereas the other one was a ternary, which, just to show you, these are the things that you can do. This is how you can insert information into your JSX code, which is very important because you're going to do a lot of this when you start using React. So I think it's a really, really, really great place to start actually with this course. So go Shaun, digging it. I'm digging it. Yeah, and he also said that like this can be used anywhere down here. So here we can see we're even inserting these JSX segments as attributes. So it doesn't just have to be a string, you know, we can use them anywhere. Yeah, so we inserted this is cool, the cool word from a variable. And we can also use it for attributes. So here with the SVG for the logo, this is an attribute, yeah. So we could also create a variable, for example, for something else here. So say this this URL that we have down here, the href, we could cut this and we could add it to our own variable up above called let, and why not const? Like, this isn't going to change, so I'm going to make this a const, and this is going to be const href for app link, and then this is going to be equal to the string that we just had, and then we can literally paste this down below in the bracket notation, and that will insert that. It doesn't matter if there is a return there, but I just want it all on the same line. That was an accidente. I'm so sorry if I'm butchering Spanish, but I just love the language and it's in my brain, so I love it. Me encanta español. Da, 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 da. So now we can see that we still have our image there. It didn't break our image. Our image is still there. It's still spinning around. So that worked as well. Great. Curly braces without any quotation marks. Like, what's the name of it? Is it just curly braces with no quotation marks? No. Oh, he just hovered and he got some information. JSX element. Okay, yeah, it's a JSX element. I had a feeling there was a name. So we use a JSX element, which is just the curly brackets, and then you insert the thing you want to display. That's what a JSX element is. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So already now we're going to go into creating a reusable component and looping it on the page. So I think that this is going very well. I'm very impressed with the rate at which he's going. I have him on 1.5 speed here, and you know, he's still talking at a good pace. So I'm really enjoying this, Shaun, and good job. Yes, I'll definitely be looking you up on all of the social media channels and singing your praises very, very soon, I think. But let's finish the course first and not jump ahead of ourselves, because everything could crash and burn. No. I'm joking. So there's 8 lessons. Cool. And we're in the first lesson. Cool. And once we sort of get into it, you know, I mean, there'll be more flow. We were setting things up and he was explaining things. So then I was explaining things and I was explaining things. So I think once we start actually coding and we get our project going, we'll be bish bash bosh about this. So I only have 2 minutes left, so I don't really see. Well, let's create our React component in the 2 minutes, yeah. So he's just explaining, saying that there's functional component syntax, which we're literally going to see now in a moment. We're about to make a functional component, so hang tight, guys, hang tight. Keep your arms and legs inside the vehicle at all times, please, because we flying. Oh, we flying. Cool. Yeah. Cool, so he's just saying that earlier on we created these 2 elements and we just added them directly to our app component. But what you would do if you had sort of, now these are only 2 small bits, that's perfectly fine, they're directly related to this component. I mean, in here is a good place for them. But we're about to make a to-do application and we're going to create a list of items that you can add to your to-do application. So in saying that, if you have different items that you need to add to a to-do list, first of all, each row is going to be the same, you know, so we're going to just loop over that same row, and then it doesn't, you could put it in here. Of course you could put it in here. You could build it and replace the code in here. We're going to have to get rid of this anyway. This isn't what we necessarily want. This is just the boilerplate code to show you something when you spin up your application. But what you would tend to do is create another component, and that's the recommended practice in React. You should separate out your concerns. So we should probably have a main to-do item. I'm not sure how he's going to break up this project, but what I would suggest, just from a very quick think about it, is we would have a main to-do component that's going to house all of our to-do stuff. So that's the to-do container. Then we might have a to-do item. So an individual to-do item. So when you type in something and you add an item to the to-do list, that's its own component. We might break that up again even more and have an input component, which is just the input box itself, the validation for the input box. If you've typed in a wrong input, in my highlight red, if you've typed in a correct input, you might get a tick. And then you can add your to-do to the list. So if you don't add anything, well then the box is red, you need to add something. It won't let you submit until you have added something to the list. Something else that we might consider then is the submit and cancel buttons down the bottom. They could be their own components again, although they'd probably go with, so you might have your to-do list, to-do item, an input, and then your to-do list would contain the to-do items in a form, and then also the buttons. So that's probably how you do that. But basically it's a separation of concerns. You don't just put all of this into one component, because it will get messy. It'll be hard to follow along what you're doing, and it's just, that's the whole purpose of React really, is to break down these components, the different things that you want to do, into smaller bite-sized chunks, because that's sort of how you use React, and it makes sense, you know, once you get into it, it makes total sense. And straight away, just from even getting a little bit of that project there, I have an idea of how I would break it up myself. So stay tuned for tomorrow's video, 100 days of code with me, Lily Code. Please do like and subscribe if you like my stuff, because I like you, and we'll see how Shaun decided to break up his project. So thanks so much for joining me, guys. As always, it's been my pleasure. Hope it's been your pleasure too. Thank you.